So if you've got a system in place, which I think we can establish we have here, where certain people are allowed to break laws, essentially conduct themselves in a way that is that correlates with lawlessness, that they are not subject to laws. So you've got your Masons and the police and the fire department and these people like that who are from families that get treated a lot better than the average family. And they've been raised and brought up and conditioned and prepared to go into these roles, as the people who are setting these things up knew that this time frame would require people with that mentality in these roles. So I think we can quite clearly establish that that's the case, that there are certain people who they're also allowing to have more privileges and break laws, i.e. the police. It's pretty clear. I've shown you this for 3 years. The police allow these people to break the law and drive with one headlight at night. Yet we're told the police are supposed to uphold the law. So it's not a case of that many of them just being inept or something. They know what's happening. They would have to. There's no way there's that many of them that are just missing that. It's not possible. So, that being said, we can see that there are two classes in society. One class which is above, they consider above the other. That are those Masons in the police, the fire department, public service positions. They are given a lot more privileges, a lot more money, obviously, a lot of added perks, and they're allowed to break the laws that others are subject to. It's well known that, you know, if you're a Mason and you're pulled over by a police officer, you're not going to get a ticket. So what we're seeing there is, again, there's two, but then there's what they want to present in the news media as being a society where we have laws and whatnot. We don't, obviously. So there's what they want to present. There's this situation that they would present, trying to lie and tell you that somehow this is democracy, when anyone can see it's totalitarianism. And there's a hierarchy, just like in Orwell's 1984. There's a hierarchy, and the proletariat are at the bottom of that, the hierarchy. Right? They're at the bottom. Those are just the average working people. Even people who have made this deal with the state are still near the bottom of that hierarchy, because they're just using those people to do things, i.e. to commit these antisocial acts, to essentially break the laws, and they're being told, don't worry about it, you'll be protected. If you harass people, you'll be protected if you do this. And then you have the people who are subject to these harassment campaigns, who have to be subject to all of the same laws that these people are not. And you can clearly see that that's the case, right? So that does not occur in any type of democratic situation. That doesn't occur in a democratic country. That only occurs under totalitarianism. So there's no exaggeration to say that we're in a situation that is akin to a dictatorship, totalitarianism. And the thing is, anyone with any sense at this point knows that those politicians who they trot out there don't have any real say in what occurs. They're told exactly what to say and do by intelligence agencies, in the same way that even all your influencers who you see on YouTube, they're also told exactly what to say and do by intelligence agencies. Of course, they'll use a go-between or a handler to tell them what to say and do as influencers. So we can see that there are two sides to this situation, as always with Masonry. The two sides, the Kabbalah, the dark and the light. There's what they want you to believe is going on, and there's what is actually going on. And what is actually going on is a slow descent into lawlessness. And we're seeing more and more of that. If I'm not protected by the same laws as a citizen of this country that everyone else is, then we don't have democracy, okay? that can be firmly established. And it's also clear that I'm not protected by these same laws. When you have people making threats of violence against me and being sent to harass me and follow me wherever I go, and nothing is done about it, and the judicial system will not hold that person accountable, then we're descending into lawlessness, because you can't pick and choose and say some of your citizens are protected by the law and others aren't. It's absurd. And then you see the people who are supposed to uphold our laws conducting themselves like utter children, like clowns, laughing about the fact that they're blocking off roads just to harass people, sitting there in their vehicles and watching people break the law while they drive by right next to them, endangering people's lives at night with only one headlight on. Because if the other headlight should give out, that's a serious issue. It may seem like a minor infraction, it's still against the law. And you see them sitting in their cars and doing nothing while that happens. And then your media go and tell you, oh no, these are the people who are supposed to uphold our laws. It's all lies and inversion, okay? And that's why documenting these things is important. It just makes these people look absolutely ridiculous. Even if they are protected and they're granted immunity and able to do whatever, it still makes them look like utter fools. I mean, you're going to go out there and start cackling and laughing while you get paid to set up an acting skit while you're supposed to be working. I mean, that just makes you look ridiculous, you know? So I like to get footage like that. But again, as I said, there's two sides. There's what the lying media presents to you as reality, and then there's actual reality. Because our media is simply repeats things that intelligence agencies tell them to say. There's no actual journalism here. Even your fake alternative media, Rebel News, and all these. So this person's going to stop here on the left, you'll see. So yeah, if your citizens are not equally protected under the law, then that is a descent into lawlessness. You cannot pick and choose and say these people are protected more than others, or when you say, or it's clear what's happening here is these people who have agreed to this, take part in this communitarian system, some of whom are provided with free accommodation in condos and townhouses, being exploited and asked to take part in these things. These people are also being granted immunity from the law in some cases. Like, perfect example, they're allowing them to drive with one headlight at night. It's minor, but it's still the law. So when you start with that, what else are you going to allow them to do? It's pretty clear that there's another thing going on too, which is a little bit more sinister, and that is that there are certain people who they allow to freely do hard narcotics, sometimes right out in the open. I just showed you an example of that last week. You think that would be happening if the police didn't know about it? There's cameras everywhere. There's cameras literally everywhere you go now. There's cameras in all those transit stations. So someone would have to see that. We know that because whenever I go to one of these places, half the time they'll send these people to pull up right when I get there to harass and intimidate. And it'll be so precise because there's cameras in the stations. Yet the people monitoring those cameras can't see there's people smoking crack in there and have those people do their jobs. And you know, like, so that tells you that's being allowed to happen, which furthers my point about a descent into total lawlessness. And that's another reason why all these frauds and actors who they fund to promote quote-unquote anarchy for so long, that's just another psychological operation as well, by the way. It's just a justification of this lawlessness that we're seeing. Now, those people will throw a lot of word salad at you and say, oh no, that's not what anarchy means. Okay. Look up the conventional dictionary definition of anarchy, okay? I know they're going to put a lot of things in there to try and make you think it's a good thing. It's lawlessness, okay? That's why you have these fraud Freemasons like the guy who are told to normalize that type of thing, anarchy. That's why you have all your biker gangs. Of course they want anarchy because they want no laws so they can go around doing whatever they want, you know, raping people, murdering people, trafficking crack openly, selling crack openly. For them, it would be a great system, so they would want anarchy. And, you know, you can try and do all these things to make up these clever ways of deceiving people into thinking that's not what it is. That's what they want. They want lawlessness. And what do we hear in the description of the book of the description of the Antichrist, right? The man of lawlessness. So we see a lot of correlations between what is described in the scripture and what is starting to happen now. Now it's clearly going to get worse. It's clearly going to get worse. They want it to get to a point where really, essentially, these hard drugs are legal behind the scenes now. But they're just keeping certain people from knowing that. There's already people who have agreed to this and know that this is going on. Large numbers of them, in fact. So, like, for example, all those people who you see participating in a false flag, those people are all aware that it's fine for certain people to go out and do hard narcotics right out in the open. One law for the certain people and another law for others. And that's been the goal all along, is to get these narcotics freely available as a means of controlling people, as a means of having a population of absolutely people who are out of their minds, people who can be fully controlled. Also, when you control the supply, as the intelligence agencies do, you can fully control the addictions of these people by, you know, rewarding them for doing things that you want them to do, and also telling them there'll be no repercussions. Coming back again to the descent into lawlessness in this country, and in essentially all of the Five Eyes countries, what are referred to as Five Eyes countries: Canada, Australia, New Zealand, the UK, United States. Five Eyes countries, often conveniently associated with the symbol of the all-seeing eye, of course, the Eye of Horus, and but it's going on in other places as well. So it's a descent into lawlessness when you have cops bursting out laughing and conducting themselves just like children, laughing about the fact that they're getting paid not to do what you're told they do. That furthers the point there. It's a descent into lawlessness, it's a descent into chaos, and they want anarchy. That's what they want. And regardless of what you say about how corrupt their system is now, you still need some order. You still need rules. If you don't have order, then things get really bad. Then people can commit acts of violence. Now, we already know that these elites control enormous segments of the population, and they also control criminals, criminal gangs of violent people who they can use at their whim. So, so that can be established for sure. And a lot of these gangs have connections to Masonry as well. You might not have them going to the exact same lodges as the cops, but nonetheless, they have connections to the Brotherhood. And in fact, that's how the CIA started by setting out a lot of these gangs and arming them as well, arming them. While they take away the right to bear arms from law-abiding citizens. Again, coming back to what they've done behind the scenes to orchestrate this descent into lawlessness. Now, it's taken a long time, and it's been very gradual and slow at times so that people wouldn't notice it too much. And they've also normalized it through control of the culture, through movies, through TV. They've normalized hard narcotics and things like that, hard narcotic use. They've, in fact, glamorized it. They've glamorized pimping, you know, and the normalization of the use of hard narcotics. And if you look back to even the 70s or 80s, there were commercials put out against hard narcotics, warning you of the dangers of these things. Now their excuse is always apathy, and they treat it like it's well, it's going to be inevitable anyway. That's what they're told to say, to normalize it, because they have to exploit people's empathy. These people have absolutely no empathy, and a lot of these families who they use condition their children since childhood to have no empathy for anyone except those in their own circle. And so with the communitarian system, imagine you got families like that all around, and in leadership roles within all of these communities, you have Masons who will have more influence than others, i.e. the term pillars of the community. Pillars, Jachin and Boaz, the two pillars of Freemasonry. So that's obviously a not too cleverly devised term as well.